Boston or San Francisco that punches way above its weight in a metropolitan area. Individuals and families like the Drew Jarvis family can play an outsized role, a very, very impactful role.
The Drew and Jarvis families have influenced and uplifted Washington for 6 generations, producing church leaders, morticians, military officers, attorneys, educators and librarians, real estate developers, park rangers, physicians, and elected officials. The Drew and Jarvis families were joined in 1960 through the marriage of Charlene Drew and William Ernest Jarvis, known as Ernie. William Daniel Jarvis was born enslaved in Matthews County, Virginia in 1861. At the age of 16, after the Civil War, he moved to Washington's southwest neighborhood to live and work with his older siblings. In 1882, William married Georgia Herbert. He earned a degree in theology from Howard University in 1901.
He was the co-founder of the New Bethel Baptist Church, and he became its pastor.
The Reverend Jarvis's son, William Ernest Jarvis, founded Jarvis Funeral Home in 1920. The successful business operated on Georgia Avenue and then on 28th Street in Georgetown, before ultimately settling at 1432 U Street Northwest.
Was along a corridor which was called Black Broadway, and was a corridor where there were many African Americans in business, including the Jarvis Funeral Home, but others in the family who were in dentistry, for example.
William Ernest's son, Norman O. Jarvis, was born in 1908. Along with his siblings, including sister Aretha, Norman worked in the Jarvis Funeral Home. Norman and his wife Mary Jackson had 8 children, one of whom was William Ernest, who married Charlene Drew.
My former husband, Ernie Jarvis, was in the funeral business. He, in fact, went to Temple and got a mortuary science degree. And he himself was a shirt-off-your-back kind of guy who would do anything for you and very generous. He liked to say, when asked how's business, he would like to respond, dead.
Charlene's grandparents, Nora and Richard Drew, lived in the Foggy Bottom neighborhood at the turn of the 20th century. Richard, a carpet layer, and Nora, who had a degree in teaching from Howard University, had 5 children. Their son Charles, Charlene's father, grew to be the acclaimed physician and medical researcher renowned for advancing the science of blood collection and processing blood plasma on the eve of World War II.
He was a very devoted dad, but he was a very busy dad. And he held us to a standard of behavior which was awesome, because we had clear expectations.
In 1940, Dr. Charles Drew was appointed medical director of the Blood for Britain project, which provided blood plasma to British troops. He would later be appointed medical director of the American Red Cross's first blood bank, and he pioneered bloodmobiles. Dr. Drew took a principled stand against segregating blood supplies.
My father said that there was no scientific reason for the segregation of blood by race. It took the Army and the Navy Surgeons General some time to decide that he was absolutely correct. But the first step that they took was simply to end the segregation of blood by race. They did not end the segregation of blood giving, of blood donation, by race.
In 1950, Charles Drew died as a result of injuries sustained in a car crash while driving all night through North Carolina to a medical conference. He did not stop to rest because roadside motels would not accommodate African Americans. Dr. Drew's story continues to resonate in dozens of memorials to his accomplishments. Charlene Drew Jarvis also began her career as a research scientist, receiving a PhD in neuropsychology from the University of Maryland. She worked at the National Institute of Mental Health until turning to politics in 1979, when she won election to the city council seat for Ward 4.
I really felt that the city needed to have some sort of economic rebirth after the riots that followed the death of Martin Luther King. And in that role, I had a chance to do exactly what I came into government to do, which was to help revitalize our neighborhood commercial corridors.
So during my first term as mayor, I relied on Charlene Jarvis' influence, sensitivity, real understanding of the district to help us formulate, our policies in my new administration, particularly in the area of economic development.
As chairman of the Economic Development Committee, Charlene introduced legislation leading to the development of the new Convention Center and MCI Center. She also led initiatives to prevent redlining by commercial banks. In 2009, as president of Southeastern University, Charlene orchestrated a unique merger of the university with the USDA Graduate School. She currently holds positions on numerous boards and councils. Charlene's son, Ernie Jarvis, along with his first cousin, and William Jarvis, co-founded Jarvis Company LLC, a commercial and residential real estate development company. Ernie also created Jarvis Commercial Real Estate.
I think that Billy and Ernie are getting involved in projects that have been stimulated by what's going on as far as this particular moment in development, this particular boom cycle. Their project up on New Hampshire Avenue is definitely a leading part of the development of that part of Washington, D.C., which has been underdeveloped.
Charlene's cousin, Frederick Gregory, was the first African American to pilot the space shuttle for NASA, and the family witnessed his first launch. The Jarvis and Drew families' contributions to the vitality of this city and the nation continue into the next generations.
If you look at all the different families that have been honored in this exercise, what's becoming about Drew Jarvis is that they understand much has been given to our family, but much has to be given back.